everyone, and welcome to the Undisputed Heavyweight Champion of the World show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is Football and Nonsense. Happy Thursday and happy Throwback Thursday to all of you who celebrate it. It is the Thursday before Halloween, and of course, Halloween, although we would love to have it be one of those holidays that has a designated day of the year, much like Thanksgiving last Thursday of November, it's not. We can get it on a Monday, a Wednesday, a Tuesday, a Thursday. This year it is, in fact, on a Monday. And so that means, or a Tuesday, I'm sorry, that means that the weekend before will be the weekend for its festivities. Now, the advantage to that, though, however, is that you can get up to 3 nights of partying. And I remember when I was hosting karaoke at the Star Bar, which is the local karaoke bar for Gonzaga University, we had the big night was always Thursday night. So all the college kiddies from GU would come out Thursday night all dressed up, and then of course you still had Friday and Saturday. Some people will even go out Sunday night to celebrate a holiday. But either way, you've got your weekend coming up. Your plans are what they are, but it reminded me of all the different times that I've gone out and dressed up for Halloween, some of my favorite occasions. For me personally, I'll be the first to tell you that I love dressing up as something that is a character that I can get into. There was a year that I was Animal, and I spent hours and hours cutting foam and pieces of fabric and hot gluing it together and making the eyes out of these styrofoam egg things. And oh, it was a nightmare, but it was so worth it. The head turned out fantastic. I look like a mascot, to be honest with you. Props to those guys and to the seamstresses or whatever they are that make mascot outfits, but there's not really like a how-to kit that you can get for making a mascot head. So I made this animal head, Animal from the Muppets, of course, for those of you that haven't caught on yet. And it was a great time. I walked around with some torn jeans, and I had an Animal t-shirt on that was ripped, and then I went to Hot Topic, and I got a couple of wrist accessories that had the spikes on them, and then I had the collar with the chain, and then I had my drumsticks, and it was a whole lot of fun. Went out 2 nights in a row that way, and I would do that, woman, kind of thing. So that was a lot of fun. Another year I was Ace Ventura. I had a buddy loan me a Hawaiian shirt that was perfect for this. It was like straight out of the movie. I found the right pants for it, the wife beater underneath. The hair was really hard to do. I tell you, if you've ever been something, a character, if you've ever dressed like somebody with a particular look with their hair, it is no easy feat. But I was Ace Ventura. When I got the hair done, I instantly got into character. I went to work that day as Ace Ventura, and I was doing the walk, and I was talking the same way that he does. So it was a lot of fun. And however you dress up, for a lot of the guys, they want to see what slutty version of something a girl is going to dress up as. Because when you're young and you're out there, you're just like, well, I've always had this thing for Wonder Woman. If I see slutty Wonder Woman tonight, it's destiny. That's what it is. It's destiny. And then there can be a lot of sexy things, right? You have that Wall and Spirit Halloween store that's all the women's outfits, because every other section you get like maybe an aisle and a half, but you have a giant wall covered in sexy everything. You got sexy secretary, French maid, policeman, fireman, all the things that you could normally think of. But then they get to like sexy crayon, which looks like a crayon that you just left out in the sun for too long, right? And so it kind of melted and got that warped, twisted look to it. That's what sexy crayon looks like. And then you have sexy clown. Problem is there's no such thing as a sexy clown, because the second you throw on the red nose, even if it's red paint, you just look like any other just crazy girl out on a Friday night. So be careful of the sexy clowns, guys. That's because there's going to be a lot of them this year. It was the movie, right? It was the It movie. Did a poll a few weeks ago. Who would you see more of, It or Hugh Hefner? I think probably Hugh Hefner, just because for the guys, it's one, paying homage to one of the greats as far as adult entertainment goes, the man behind Playboy. Plus, it's easy. All you have to do is throw on a robe, put in a pipe, and then stick on some sunglasses. But there could be a lot of Pennywise out there. But I remember there was always that couple that dressed where the girl was all for it and the guy just wasn't having it. And I applaud you if you guys can find a clever, fun couple's costume. I really do. At my senior year, Sadie Hawkins, the one that actually won Best Couple's Costume, was the one that I thought was super original, and it was great. And it was, the girl was dressed up as a giant butterfly, and the guy was dressed up as one of those old school safari people who tries to catch the bugs, you know? So he would chase her around with his little net and everything, and he had the safari hat and the goofy glasses, and it was great. So if you can find something like that to do that's beneficial and fun for both parties involved, by all means. But the thing about a couple's costume is that it's 50-50, and both sides got to meet somewhere. It can't be all one or the other. For me, I tweeted out a picture of it last night. I will figure out how to do this because for years I've wanted to do this couple's costume. I wanted to bring back Animal since I've done the head once, and it has since been destroyed. It moved so many times and it's fallen off shelves, and the dog got a hold of it and things like that. So since I've done it before, I know how to do it again, and I would do it better. And then I want my significant other, my wife, to go as the drum set. Now, how does this work, you think? Well, you could either do it like you see the little kids that have their legs that go through the car, like if they're Batman in the Batmobile. You could do that. That's like the easy way out. Or you could create a dress that looks like a drum set. So up on the shoulders, you know, it'd be like one of those 80s styles dress. Up on the puffy shoulders, you'd have two cymbals right up there. And then, of course, over the breasts would be the tom-tom drums, right? And then at the base of the dress would be probably like a half a hula hoop doing this thing that looks like the kick drum. You can do it. It would take a lot of effort and sit down and thinking, but you could do it. So if you've got a clever costume, if you've got a clever couple's costume, or if you just have a costume that you want to share with everybody, feel free to tweet it at me at FanShowOfficial. I'd love to share it. We got a great episode for you tonight, though. Ryan Levy, he's a local concert promoter here. He's the man behind Monumental Booking in Spokane. He will join me. We already pre-recorded his segment, but he talks about Monumental Booking, and then, of course, the upcoming Halloween cover show that he does every year, bands covering other bands. So it's kind of like Halloween and dress up for your band and their songs. So not only do the bands dress up, but they also play other bands' songs, and it's always a whole lot of fun. He'll give you plenty of details on that. And then comedian and the man behind all of those hilarious highlight commentary videos, Chiseled Adonis, he will join me. We'll do some fan versus fan show pick'em. But other than that, got a great lineup for you this evening. Should be a fun show. It'll be the last one, of course, of the week before we go into the weekend, Halloween weekend. And, of course, let's go ahead and get through the headlines, shall we? This episode is brought to you by mybookie.ag. It is the holiday cash. You need it, and I know where to get it. MyBookie is the place to score serious cash on your sports predictions. Believe it or not, the holidays, well, they're just around the corner now, aren't they? And while that means plenty of parties, gifts, and spending dollar bills, y'all, it also means that there's a lot of football, basketball, and hockey games going on, and you can score big every day. Now, man up and play like the pros on game day. You can play the money line, side, or total. MyBookie is your hookup for all of your betting needs and offers super fast payouts when you win. So, where to bet is important. That's why I recommend MyBookie. They're the only site that I would take my gambling and betting action to online. I trust them. They're built on the 3 R's: reputation, reliability, and really fast payouts. And if you join now, MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus. That's right, that 100% bonus. That offer is gone. You guys needed to take advantage of it. I hope you did. But 50% bonus when you sign up, register, and use promo code TheFanShow to activate that offer today. So visit mybookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid. And the headlines, really only one. The World Series is tied at 1-1 after there was a home run fest last night in L.A. You thought L.A. had all the momentum, everything going for them before the game even started because Vince Sully, the man with the voice, L.A. himself, the guy who has been behind calling some of the most iconic moments in sports, was out there to throw the first pitch, but he had some assists from former players, and it was a great moment. It really was. Gave you chills, whether you're a fan or not. And they looked like they had it all the way through. I didn't watch a whole lot of the game because I don't follow baseball, but then it went into extra innings, and the Astros pulled it out. Incredible baseball is all that I've been hearing today as far as the friends I have that watch baseball. They believe that it was probably one of the best Game 2 World Series games that they've seen, possibly one of the best games they've seen ever. And then, of course, with the football, we've got a game tonight, and that is the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens. Miami, of course, with quarterback Matt Moore at the helm. I think it gives them about the same amount of chance to win as it would have with Jay Cutler. I don't believe in this Baltimore Ravens team. I think it'll be a close win, probably lower scoring affair, and Miami will get the win. So that's my prediction for Thursday Night Football tonight, coming up after the Fan Show. And then, of course, this weekend got a lot of games. Ryan's most recent article for his 3 games of the week will be up immediately following the show as well. So check that out at thefanshow.com. And then Martavis Bryant, man who was the recipient of this week's Butt Fumble Award, he has been demoted to the scout team. And man, oh man. And yet, so you look at the Steelers, Martavis Bryant's been demoted and embarrassed. But yet Juju Schuster-Smith is like the new hero in Pittsburgh over his bike and his "not today" with Mia Khalifa. It's crazy how the world of sports works. But that'll do it for headlines. I'm going to go ahead and go to a commercial break, play my interview with Ryan, and then after that, Chiseled Adonis, so you won't want to miss any of the Fan Show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to The Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's The Fan Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazzisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It's like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo.
Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body, right?
Yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now, he is the head of Monumental Booking and has his big annual Halloween cover show. It is Ryan Levy. Ryan, welcome. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing good, man. It's exciting to talk to you because I know that when it comes to the music scene in Spokane, it would not be what it is without the name Ryan Levy somewhere in there. And this Halloween cover show is one of the many things that you do, and I just wanted to kind of get some backstory on this. Like, what gave you the initial idea to be like, hey, let's do a Halloween show, let's have bands cover different bands, kind of like, you know, you're dressing up your music?
Yeah, and that's kind of like where the idea started. Was I was trying to think of like a Halloween-themed show, mainly for like heavier bands in the area that don't necessarily get the opportunity to play like certain other events that are put on by other venues in town. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to put like a fun spin on it, and I needed to find a way to make it a little different from every other show. And then I thought of like, well, what if bands dressed up as like other like, more famous bands. Like, what if someone, like dressed up like Kiss, or someone, showed up like Red Hot Chili Peppers, when they took all their clothes off or something, which I don't know if that'd be a good idea. But, and I was like thinking like, well, what if we turned it up a notch? What if the bands covered those bands, like actually played their songs? I mean, because when else do you get to, play a show in homage to a band or an artist that you love and that you like a lot? And so I think that this show is a good outlet that happens annually where guys can get together and just put together a fun little set to kind of show where their roots and inspiration comes from for the music they write.
Yeah, it's always a fun show. People get a chance to dress up. The bands dress up. I've seen the shows where people covered anything from The Offspring to the Foo Fighters. This year there's bands covering Deftones and Seether and then Blink-182. So it's always a good mix of bands. Have you ever had any sort of kickback or issues with the bands that these bands have chosen to cover?
No, not really. There hasn't been any sort of no backlash, no weird comments or anything. Yeah, it's all been pretty smooth because it's all in fun, like everyone's doing it just to in the spirit of Halloween, and because that's the whole point of it. It's like, hey, come check out how we do these songs and come look at our goofy outfits, and let's just hang out and make some new friends and stuff like that. And it's and it's fun for sometimes people will bring their kids, and it's fun for them to come hang out too and see all the adults like dressed up and stuff. So it's a rad little event, and it's pretty low key too. So it's not like anything like super, like not trying to like put it on like a giant stage and make a big deal out of it. Just something like fun for everyone to get together each year. And something a little bit more entertaining than like carving pumpkins or something like that. So
it's always a good time, and yeah, it is very family friendly. So that's been definitely a bonus because there's hard to find certain family friendly events when it comes to things like Halloween, and you pull it off nicely.
Well, most of the time. I mean, it can. I mean, depending on the kind of music that you want your kids to hear, I guess. Like if someone covers Rage Against the Machine, that might be a little too, a little too inappropriate for kids, depending on how young they are, I guess. But then like there's other sets where people will cover like Michael Jackson or something, and those are always really fun. So.
Yeah, and this is one of your big annual shows that you do. The next one coming up, then, of course, I believe it's a 3-parter now. It's gotten so big, and that is the Nightmare Before Christmas show that you do around Christmas time. You're partnered up with Levy of Octopalooza, and you've had your hand in that the last couple of years. So these are the big 3 for you, and the next one then being the Nightmare Before Christmas show. What gave you the inspiration for that one?
That one was, it kind of just sort of happened naturally. And what had happened, it was probably a year or two after I had first started setting up shows. And I noticed that I had no touring bands were coming through in December. December and January were always really, really tough, and that's because the roads are really bad. Yeah. So bands don't necessarily want to go out on the icy roads and tour up in the Northwest, or if there's like, 2 feet of snow or something. So it makes things a little difficult, a little bit dull. And then I thought like, well, what if we did a big fun show where it's just the bands from around here? Like we don't need touring bands. We can just, there's like plenty of good bands here in town. Like, why don't we give them the spotlight, like have them play, have them be the ones that people come to see, and it just, it's the first one I set up is at the old Boulevard on Spokane Falls Boulevard, on a tiny stage. And I think there was like 8 bands on it, which was like, at the time, that was like a lot of freaking bands, and then it went really well. And then, so what I did was I followed it up the following year, with, same concept, just, maybe different bands and stuff. And it just kept showing a lot of success. And then eventually it just, I had so many bands that were wanting to play it, I couldn't fit everyone onto one show. So then I turned it into 2 days. Years go by, and I end up having to split it into 3 days because of all the interest in it. And then and then from there, 4 days, and then from 4 days, 6 days. And that is the most that I've done. And that was 2 years ago. And it was crazy. I mean, like, it did great, and all the shows were awesome, but it was like so much to handle, like it was,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, like so many bands, like we're talking like 8 to 10 bands each day, and there's freaking 6 days. Like, that's a lot of people to like communicate with, and make sure they know the schedule, the load in, and things like that. So I kind of went a little over my head that year, I feel like, but I maybe I should ease into that a little bit slower now. But this year I've gone back to 4 days. And it feels good because there is a lot of interest in it, and I think there actually might be more interest in it in bands playing than I can actually fit, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So because it's like right before Christmas, and sometimes it can get a little stressful to deal with, so much going on. But and then that also makes it to where, like, since it's only 4 days, that way, it's like you take quality over quantity sort of thing sometimes. So that way, like, people aren't getting burnt out over, like going to so many shows, which is, 6 days is tough for anyone, but so I think this year, I'm kind of, getting the feel of like what works better. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It's trial and error and those kind of things. And you're someone who has definitely learned from experience. Chances are, if you grew up in Spokane in the music scene, Ryan was a good part of your childhood, and even up until now that we're all adults. But it's crazy to think about how long you've been doing this and the kind of names that you've gotten to come through Spokane and stop by or booked outright. Who is the one band, though, that you've tried hard to get and haven't been able to? Like, who's your white whale out there that you wish you could land?
my bucket list band. Yeah, I've had a few of them. And what's funny is for the longest time, Whitechapel and Suicide Silence were two bands that, like, I just had to book them. I'm not huge fans of them. Like, I don't listen to them a whole lot. I listen to them, but I'm not like, oh my God, they're like my favorite band or anything. Like, they were just hot in the time when I first started booking that style of music. Cause that's when I first started booking shows, I started booking like metalcore and deathcore and things like that. And Suicide Silence and Whitechapel were like the two big ones that were like, carrying the flag and like really leading that genre. And I was just like so hell-bent on booking them. And every time they came my way, it just slipped through my fingers. And then it wasn't until like early last year that I hear something about them going on tour together. Like another buddy from another touring band, like, mentioned something to me. And I was like, oh man, I gotta try to get that. And so I email the agent, and he's like, well, I've never worked with him before. He's just like, well, who are you? Like what's Spokane like for this? And I had to like basically sell it to him. And then he's like, okay, well, give me an offer, and I put something together, and he's like, wow, he's like, this is actually a pretty good offer. Are you sure this show's going to do that well? And I was like, I am going to freaking bust my ass. So it does, like, I've been waiting for this. And it's like both of those bucket list bands, those white whales, were in one show, and we did the show and it sold out. Everything was great. And like, the band members were all freaking awesome. And I was just so happy to, like, put that, sort of like on my resume, if you will.
Don't you love those moments? It's like, all I need is a chance,
it's awesome. I'm sure you deal with it too. Yeah, like interviewing like so many cool people. Like, gosh, like Charlotte Flair, like, for me, that's like awesome, man. That's like, she's such a badass. She's like the best female wrestler since like Chyna and Lita. Like, she's so good. But other than like Suicide Silence and Whitechapel, Misery Signals is probably top of my list just because I really like that band a lot. And I've tried getting them to come through, and same scenario, it just slips through my fingers. But next year, I'm hoping that they do a 10-year anniversary for I'm like blanking it right now. It's for their third album after Mirrors, and I'm hoping I could get them to come through. Sorry, this crow right now is like pecking at the freaking window right now. But yeah, I'd like to get Misery Signals come through just because they're just a really good band and I enjoy them. And I have some friends that would really like to see them too. And it's been so long since they've played here, so I'd really like to get them on like a smaller, intimate stage, because I think the last time they played here was like Big Easy. And it was just, I mean, it sounded great, but it's like you're not like right there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I get it. And I think, obviously, if anybody can make it happen, you can make it happen. But other than the Halloween cover show, Nightmare Before Christmas, and then now you're, heavily involved in the annual Octapalooza. But that's, you were talking August, October, and then December. Is there another show idea, festival, or anything that you have in mind that you haven't quite had the opportunity to really see it play out that you'd like to do for spring or summer?
I've tried to do stuff in spring, and it is it's so like hit or miss, and the reason why is because there's so many other tours coming through. Like as a promoter, like in Spokane, like the two biggest, most busy times of the year are spring and then fall. Yeah. And so and that's usually when like all the crazy tours come through, and like there's 5 shows a week, so it's tough to put together like an event like that, like in springtime. But I've done it before a few times, and like some have done well and some, not so well. And what I really want to try to focus on is maybe do something like maybe around the time that school gets out, just because when kids like get out of school, they want to go and find something fun to do. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a good time to maybe put something together, but it's just ideas floating in my head. I like the outdoor stuff that we're doing with Octapalooza. That's been going really well. This year's been awesome. And, I'd like to see like what other stuff we can do like that, and there's just like, Because what we do with Octapalooza is different from a lot of other stuff, and I'm sure that there's like another type of niche that we can find that would also be fun for a lot of people to go to. So it's just, just a lot of stuff to think about and try to come up with ideas for.
Oh yeah,
so.
And I have no doubt that you'll come up with something good, because we've all enjoyed up here, all the other stuff that you've had going on. The Halloween cover show is just kind of like the start of the fun music season. And I know that when it comes to everything else going on, like wrestling and the world of sports, you're a huge Sounders fan. And I know that I need to cover more soccer, but you and I could probably spend an hour easy talking just wrestling. So we'll have to do that in the near future, probably before like the Royal Rumble or something.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. I'm down with that stuff for sure, man. Like wrestling is fun. It's definitely a good outlet,
Yeah, it sticks with you. Like you either get it or you don't. And if you do, you're a fan for life.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it is for me, because like I used to watch it like when I was a kid, and then into like my early teens. And when I got to high school, I just like, it was probably like my sophomore year, I just fell out of it. I just got so swept up in like getting into music and shows and stuff, and like it kind of took me away from it. And then I'd kind of go back and check to see how it was doing, and like it didn't seem to have the same spark as it did when I used to watch it. And then it wasn't until like a year ago when I got back into it, because people are like, man, you got to get the network, you got to check out all these new wrestlers I've never even heard of. And I was like, okay, well, I'll see what this is all about. And I start watching it. I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, this is way cool. Like, I love what they're doing with it now. Like, it's so involved and it gets a lot deeper into the characters in the industry than it did before. And that's the thing that I love about it. And I think that the network is perfect for that because it lets you kind of, look around the wall and see like what is going on. And it makes it even more interesting because it makes you lean in a little bit closer. And I think that's why everyone else is kind of getting a lot more into it. Like if you take like Raw or SmackDown now and compare it to watch the crowd and everything. And if you compare it to like 10 years ago, I feel like now is better than before.
Yeah.
And there's tons of adults, tons of kids, like everyone is getting into it. And not only that, but it's regularly talked about in sports, like ESPN and like sports talk shows and everything. They fully, embrace wrestling. And I think it's awesome. It's great. I mean, it's, even though, it's considered more of a performance, but still like it takes a lot in order to, be able to put on that show for you. And it's something that I can respect as a promoter that likes entertainment. It's like, how can you not like something like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the funny backstory about me and Ryan, for those of you that don't know, and probably a lot of you listening don't because it's the first time Ryan's been on the show, but as involved as I was with the local music scene at my peak, him and I actually met officially because I had heard a lot about Ryan and Monumental Booking being in Spokane in the music scene, but we met sitting next to each other out in the freezing cold camping out for Raw tickets the last time we came to Spokane.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I remember that. I remember getting there at like 8:00 the night before tickets would go on sale. And just to get like front row tickets and stuff. And man, that was pretty funny. Yeah, you meet some really cool people.
Yeah, you meet the diehards
awesome.
that way.
Yeah. I remember one time I waited for tickets and I got my ticket and they're like, "Oh, it's front row." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And months go by and then finally the event, it's the day of the event, and I go there and I'm like, "Okay, where's my seat at?" And I'm like looking for it and I can't find it. And so I asked someone that works there, I'm like, "Hey, can you show me where my seat is at?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, it was for SmackDown." And he's like, "Oh, it's right there." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And it was the seat right on the corner when the wrestlers would go down the ramp, from their entrance, and they take that turn to go up the steps. I was right there on the corner, that very seat, and it was it's like the best seat in the house. And I was like, "Oh my god!" And I got to like high five like every wrestler that went by and stuff. It was just the coolest thing. Yeah. And like I could have got some really cool footage if only like smartphones were a thing back then, But yeah, it was definitely rad. It was a lot of fun.
Well, it is the Halloween cover show, the annual Halloween event that Monumental Booking does, and it is bands covering other bands. Great lineup this year. It's no exception. But, of course, if you come dressed up, it's only $5 to get in. If you decide not to get into the spirit of things, then it is $8, and it is at the Pin, and it is doors at 6?
7.
Doors at 7, all right. And that is, what's the address of the Pin?
412 West Sprague.
All right, and that again is tomorrow night. So if you don't have plans, and hopefully you don't, come down to the Pin and check out the bands covering other bands, the annual Monumental Booking Halloween Party. Ryan, I'm so happy I got to have you on, and we'll have you on again soon.
Glad to be on, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey,
appreciate
not a problem. Take care.
You too, man. Bye.
This is The Sheet.
Gets me all revved up. My face is now red. My ears are just freaking boiling.
He's so raw that Skype hates him.
Yeah, he had 51 touchdowns, 4,900 total yards.
I know y'all like that, but I got to run. And only in Alabama that could happen, I have to say.
They're so good, man. They would win the Big Ten if they were in the Big Ten. You could be doing something vision-based in front of you and reach down and grab a handful of insane goodness.
Give it to him. Kudos. I'm clapping like a golfer. Very good, Johnny. I'm proud of you.
Wow. You guys agree on something again? I'm very impressed. Have you ever had a bad week? Just you walk outside, step in a puddle, like right when you walk outside. I mean, how's there a puddle right outside the house? Or you stand on the curb and somebody drives by and splashes water up on you? Or it's just raining on you, not anyone else?
I will tell you, before you go any further, I cannot hear Chad when he speaks.
Good. You're listening to The Sheet, man. I don't really know what we're doing.
every Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. right here on WBLZ Sports.
Whether it be your industrial, commercial, or residential needs, Gen Service is the electrical contractor for you. The Gen Service team has the expertise, commitment, and educational years to help you solve all your electrical concerns. They have you in their best interest with helpful suggestions to accommodate your every want. Give them a call, no matter the size of the job, at 740-438-7173. Mention WBLZ Sports, and you'll get a discount. That's Gen Service, 740-438-7173.
This is Nick Ciccarelli, the mad scientist of sports. Join me and Dr. D, Derek Jones, live every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, for the Mad Scientist Sports Lab. The big intellects, the experiments on the chalkboard, and the guest subjects will be rolling in. Mad Scientist Sports Lab, only on WBLZ Sports, where we got balls.
Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing. He has over 30 years of painting experience. He's interior, exterior, commercial, or residential. Doug Peffer covers it all. Is your house looking ugh? We'll call on Doug. Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361. Mention WBLZ Sports and get a special We've Got Balls discount. That's Doug Peffer Painting and Pressure Washing, 404-966-3361.
Check out Thursday Night Tailgate, where NFL legends live on. We bring you 5 NFL legends every week, sharing their stories and insights, plus our spotlight on the positive. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities. Now on WBLZ Sports Talk Radio and WBLZSports.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and joining me making his debut on the Fan Show is the man behind those hilarious highlight videos with the voice commentary. It is comedian Chiseled Adonis. Welcome to the program, Chiseled. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. I got to tell you, when I saw that get shared in my Facebook timeline, I was like, what is this? Because there's bad lip reading, which has become kind of, we wait for the next batch to come out. But this is something completely different. It's the highlights from all the different games, and then you've got your own voiceover commentary. And I was in tears laughing so hard at the first one that I heard. Where did you come up with the idea for something like that?
Well, first, thank you for watching the videos. I truly do appreciate that. But where I got the idea from was I was watching the opening game between the Chiefs and the Patriots, and James White caught the ball on a sweep, and he did a phenomenal stiff arm to, I believe it was number 39, Mitchell of the Chiefs, and nobody on commentary mentioned it. So I'm on Facebook, I'm scrolling, and nobody said anything about the play. So once I hopped on Twitter, I tried to see if I can get one of the live feeds of the game. I took that one clip, and I just did 1 minute commentary on it while I was saying, oh, yeah, he got baptized and stuff like that. And then within 3 days, it was at 2.3 million views.
Wow.
And somebody told me, hey, you should probably do, full game highlights. And I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. And the rest is history.
How long does it take you to put one of those together?
Probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Because I'm watching the game live, and then while I'm watching it live, I have it's streaming on Red Zone. So I try to get as much highlights of the big play highlights as possible, and then I just make a huge compilation. And the funny thing about it, what makes it so authentic, is I don't write for I don't have any sort of script to where I release it the next day, especially on Sunday. So I'll just sit there with a mic in my hand. I'll think of whatever comes to mind first, and then I throw it together, and then surprisingly people watch it, so it works.
That is awesome, because I don't like scripts. I don't do them here on the show. I'll have like my key talking points, like just a name or a headline or whatever that I want to make sure that I cover. But other than that, it's if I'm reading off a script, I feel too automated, and I just can't do it. So I was wondering if those were all organic in the moment, or if you actually took the time to be like, what's a good reference I could come up with as far as like pop culture to compare this to?
Oh, with those, what I do is I'll say something, and then whatever comes to mind first, I'll just keep repeating it until something like I can expand off of it. Because when I first was with the stiff arm, when I first saw the stiff arm happen, I said, okay, he baptized him right there. And then from that, I said, okay, why don't I say, like, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and then just keep expanding from there. And then when I did, I started incorporating, like, some wrestling into there. I incorporated some anime into there. And then with the one that really took off, which is, like, one of the taglines, is with Nick Folk. And for some apparent reason, everybody because when he missed the 3 kicks on the Thursday night game against the Patriots, and they had the one clip where he was getting consoled by, I don't know if it was their special team coach or somebody, and he put his head down. So I just said, yeah, put your head down. And then from that point, everybody's just, why don't you keep saying it in every video? Keep saying it in every video. So I started throwing those in there. So I'll have the mic in my hand, and I'll just repeat certain phrases over and over, and then I'll just expand from there.
Yeah, it is one of the things that I was going to ask you if that was something personal that you had against Nick Folk, because that part is absolutely hilarious, I will admit. It's something that each video that you put out, I'm like, okay, so how is he going to tie this next one into something with Nick Folk? And then there's like, and now we got a safety making a kick. You don't know anything about that, do you, Nick Folk?
Yeah, it's funny when it happened, too, because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so a lot of people have been asking me, "Why are you a Bucs fan? Did he hurt your feelings? What's the correlation between you and Nick Folk?" But in 2015, when we had when the Steelers, before they brought in Sean Sweezum, they had an issue with their making field goals in the beginning of the season when they played against not Pittsburgh, when they played against the Patriots. On the opening night, they missed 3 kicks, and they would have possibly won the game. So something about kickers not being able to do their job really ticks me off. So I just figured, you know what, why not, I'll get on Nick Folk, and then every week I try to get him from a different angle. I think the last video that I did, I said something like I've seen better legs on a paraplegic, and then everybody loved that one.
Yeah, I remember that moment. The one of my favorites from this last set of videos that you did was the injury to Jay Cutler and the Vagisil promo that you did.
Yeah, with the Vagisil that was there, because everybody always says, like, whenever he gets hurt, like, he wants no business in playing football and stuff like that. So I said, okay, what is the most ridiculous injury I can come up with? So at first I was going to say he had a torn labia, but I said, now maybe if I go there, some people won't get it. So I just said, yeah, he has a bruised cervix, and a lot of people caught it. I said, all right. And I'll just roll with that. And then, like a gift from the heavens was the Dolphins offensive line coach with the cocaine. So and I'm going to start throwing that in every time the Dolphins have some sort of highlight.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder what kind of moment that each week is going to give you to see if it becomes a recurring thing. Because here on the show, I give out the Butt Fumble Award every week in honor of Mark Sanchez, and it's an award for, it's gone to players, of course, and then it's gone to whole teams, it's gone to coaches, front office. Basically, no one is safe from that, moment where you just really wish that you could take it back and you can't get out of your own way, and it was sad and it was funny all at the same time. So it seems like you catch a lot of those in your commentary too, so I admire it.
Yeah, I try my best to get like the most ridiculous things that'll happen during the game if somebody gets hurdled or if somebody gets stiff-armed or laid out. They had one highlight where a coach ended up getting ran over, but I couldn't find the replay of it, so I wasn't able to put it in there. But I was going to throw that in there too. I just try to catch the smallest moments that some people don't see, and then I'll just keep throwing that in there week by week.
So you're a comedian, and now you've got this weekly highlight video with your commentary. But do you do a lot of stand-up? Like, what's your day-to-day like before you had these videos come out?
Well, before I had when the commentary video started going viral, I had a couple of different videos that I was doing online that passed 1 million views because I had more of a rant sort of style. So when I would rant on many different things, a lot of people, they liked that. And regarding like stand-up, I did stand-up shows. I did about maybe 40 or 50 open mics that I've done. I've had 2 different stand-up shows so far. I have an upcoming one coming next month that I'm doing out here in New York. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can to just get my name out there. So with the online, I can build my own demand. So when I go to a comedy club, I can say, hey, I could bring 30-some people and I'll be able to get on the lineup with no problem in a like a prime time spot. In contrast to being the guy who's just starting out and I have to pay every time to get on the stage.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that, once you've found your niche, you kind of go with it. And I know that there's been a lot of comedians that have kind of done their own thing. Bo Burnham is a really different approach to comedy. You have Jeff Dunham, who's a ventriloquist, and then you have the guys that tell stories, or the guys that I've seen people even read like mean tweets as like their comedy. Is this something? Is your highlight video something that could find its way into your routine, where they just like throw up a random clip from a game and then you do your commentary to it? Have you thought that far ahead?
No, I actually haven't given that any thought. Like, what I tried to do was probably take some of the taglines that I would say and then incorporate that into the stand-up. But then if I was able to get some clips up there and then just run it live, that would be cool too.
Yeah, I think that would be something that would be really funny, because then you're giving the people that know you for that something to come and look forward to, is that you have these clips that maybe didn't make the cut or have happened since then if you follow more sports than football, and you throw them up on the screen, like you have a guy there and you're just like, all right, throw up the next clip, and then you do your commentary there. That could be something very different that people could, separate you from everybody else for.
Yeah, because nobody else is doing that. That's extremely authentic. So I'm sure they would appreciate me for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So there's a segment that I do every Thursday, which is the F.A.N. versus the F.A.N. show for Weekly Pick'em, and I'm not doing too well right now. I've hit like a 5-week losing skid. But for you, with you being on the show right now, if you want to make your predictions for these 5 games with your own unique commentary style of how a certain team is going to win, by all means, let it fly, no pressure. But if not, that's fine too, because I don't know if you've got a prep or anything. But the first game that I have here for us to pick is going to be divisional matchup between Carolina and Tampa Bay. Kind of a big game for both, especially since the New Orleans Saints are leading the pack right now, and who saw that coming? But your pick for this game.
Between the Cardinals and the Bucks.
Panthers and the Bucks.
Oh, the Panthers and the Bucks. Well, if Cam Newton could, stop running away from reporters, if he can take that same passion of leaving the press conferences and put that into throwing touchdown passes, then I see Carolina being able to roll. Because this Buccaneers team is extremely, they're inconsistent throughout the season. For some apparent reason, they're not really thinking that, hey, let's hand it off to Doug Martin. This guy's got size bigger than people's heads. Give him the ball, let him run. But instead, they're not doing that. So I see Carolina winning that game.
All right, you like Carolina. I'm actually going to go with Tampa Bay. I feel like they came really close to winning against a tough Buffalo team. And Carolina, they're kind of 50-50. But, man, Cam Newton is his own worst enemy. He really just can't get out of his way. And he can sometimes bounce back, but other times he can't. And he's going to be that team's Achilles heel. So I think on the road, coming off of another week where he got roasted for his up and leaving the press conference, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. So the next game then would be the Oakland Raiders, fresh off of a big Thursday night win against the Chiefs, going into Buffalo to take on the red-hot Bills right now. Who do you like in this one?
I want to say I like Oakland because they were able to shut down, for the most part on the ground. They were able to stop Kareem Hunt. But Buffalo, they just know how to run the football. And this Oakland team, defensively, they're better against the pass than they are against the run. So I see Buffalo, holding down the front because I believe they're at home this game. So I see them holding down the front. Derek Carr, although he did play outstanding last week against the Chiefs, since it's divisional, they know each other like that. Going out to Buffalo, it's a different climate out there. So I see Buffalo pulling it off. I think Tyrod Taylor might surprise a couple of people this game.
Yeah, I think Buffalo is probably going to take this one, too. It'll be a close contest and one that the Raiders, well, they needed their last win more than they need this one now that the Chiefs have lost 2 straight, but they still have a little bit of a hole to dig out of. So we both like Buffalo there. The next one, though, probably didn't think it would be much going into this week, but nonetheless, here we are. The L.A. Chargers, who have won 3 straight, go up against the New England Patriots, who, I mean, are they for real? Are they not? This is 2 teams that we can't make heads or tails of. Who do you like in Foxborough?
In Foxborough, knowing the history that the Patriots have had, there and Tom Brady being extremely efficient playing at home. I'm going to go with an upset, and I'm going to say the Rams walk in there and shock the world. Because over the first 4 weeks, the Patriots historically had one of the worst defenses ever, and then they've turned it around over the last 3 weeks, but they had a bad call from the referee that got them out of the game against the Jets. They played all right last week in their win, but it's just something about this the Chargers team here. I think they're able to pull it off. I think they'll be able to pull it off here.
Yeah, and for me, I've gone against the Patriots a couple times in what I thought would be an upset. And then, of course, the one time that I picked them, they don't win, and that was in my eliminator pool against Carolina. So I can never seem to get these games right. I guess to play it safe, it being in Foxborough, I'd love to see an upset, but I'm going to go with the Patriots on this one. So we're different there. And the next one is probably the game of the week because there's a lot of teams on byes and there's a lot of sloppy football out there. But Houston, the Texans will go into Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And I think that the Texans right now are the real deal, where the Seahawks, I don't know, they need a good team to kind of put them back in their place. What do you think on this one?
I'm going to go Houston because I'm really buying what they're selling. There's just something about them having those receivers with dreadlocks over there. They're pulling it off.
The dreadlock
DeAndre
power.
Hopkins, he has dreadlock power. DeAndre Hopkins, I believe he's leading the league in touchdown receptions. He's got 6. Will Fuller's got 5. Deshaun Watson is playing like every game's a national championship, and we're yet to see Lamar Miller explode and have a big-time game. And I think this is going to be the game for him to do it because Seattle's defense, it's not what it used to be. It's almost an illusion of what it used to be. And Cliff Averill being out, I believe they signed Dwight Freeney, but he's old as time. He's as old as Vinatieri, I think. So, he should be collecting AARP, but he's on the field. And I don't think he's going to do that big of a difference for Seattle. So I see Houston coming in, and I think they're going to roll over Seattle in Seattle and shock the world the same way the Panthers did when they walked into Seattle, picked up the win 2 years ago, and the same that the Cowboys did 3 years ago when they walked into Seattle. So I think Houston's going to do it and show the NFL and the AFC South that, they're still here and holding down the fort.
Yeah, I like Houston in this one as well. It's going to be a tough road game, but I do think that offense will make a few Seattle defenders, their souls leave their bodies, and we'll get to see that in your highlight video the following week. And that brings us to our last game, division rivalry. This one is important for both teams, and it is the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins in D.C. Who do you like?
I think because Sean Lee came back, I'm going to have to go Dallas here because for some apparent reason, Kirk Cousins, he's up 1 week and then he's down the other week. And they still have no running game in Washington because Chris Thompson, he is a touchdown machine, but he can't get those yards on the ground. It's all through checkdowns, and Terrell Pryor's not playing that well throughout the season. And something about Dallas, they're learning how to click now, although they did just, they beat a winless team in San Francisco. But I think they're going to be able to run the football against Washington, and Des Bryant, with Josh Norman being out, I don't think Washington's going to have a corner to be able to cover him. So I think they're going to have a pretty good game. I see Dallas coming out and winning this game.
And with that, then, I will make my pick for the Washington Redskins just because I'm so anti-Dallas. So maybe them being at home, coming off of a tough divisional loss, will get them a good divisional win, and that will do it for this week's Fan versus Fan Show Pick'em. And Chisel, I gotta say, it's been really fun to talk to you. I love your videos, and I'm waiting for a Game of Thrones reference to be thrown in there at some point.
Oh yeah, I'll throw one in there. I'll throw one in there for you.
That'll be great, but man, they are fun to watch. Keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to them now every week, and you do one for the daytime games and then one for the primetime games too.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
do 3 a week. I have the Thursday night football game. I release that one on Friday. The Sunday early games between the early in the afternoon at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. I release those around 8 to 9 p.m. on Sunday, and then the Monday night and Sunday night football game I release those on Tuesday night.
He is the man that everybody should have at their Super Bowl party and just hit the mute button on the TV and let it ride. Chiseled Adonis. You can follow him on Twitter at Chiseled Adonis, and then, of course, go and check out his Facebook page for the full videos of his weekly hilarious highlight voiceover commentaries. Chiseled, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. You take care.
Bye.
All right, folks, and that will do it for this Thursday edition of The Fan Show. Don't forget to check out mybookie.ag, your world leader for online betting and gambling, where you bet matters. So take it to a safe place, and you can even, play some craps or some blackjack if you're not wanting to really put your money down on a game. But remember, if your team sucks, that's great because you can either bet against them, and then if they win, you feel good. If they lose, you win money, and all they have to do is cover the spread anyway. So it's like a win-win-win for you, and that's hard to do in the world of sports. But nonetheless, mybookie.ag, The Fan Show is the promo code, 50% bonus coverage for when you register using that promo code, and they are reliable, they have the reputation, and they have really fast payouts. mybookie.ag. So we will be back next week for more football and nonsense. I've got more guests coming up. We are at the midway point of the NFL season, so enjoy your Halloween weekend. Like I said, if you've got a costume that's clever, funny, or you just feel like sharing it with the world, hit me up on Twitter at FanShowOfficial. I'd love to share it. Don't forget to follow the Snapchat and Instagram, which are both The Fan Show. I'm on Periscope, which I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen. I do some daily videos letting you know who's coming up on the show or what was just on the show while I'm out walking my dog, Sammy. Like me on the Facebook, facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. And don't forget, you can listen to me in so many ways. Let's count them, all right? I think there's 5 ways to listen to The Fan Show. That is Spreaker.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, WBLZ Sports, which is an app that you can download and catch replays of the show the next day, and iHeartRadio. That's right, the new place to hear The Fan Show. And then, of course, everything can be found at thefanshow.com, your home base for all things football and nonsense. You can even listen live there. You can listen live on Spreaker.com and then subscribe to the podcast on either iTunes or SoundCloud. So that'll do it for this week on The Fan Show. Thank you all for tuning in, Fan Nation. I'd like to thank Ryan Levy and Chiseled Adonis for being on the program this evening. So best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love The Fan Show.